Hey, good evening, folks. Beautiful evening. Nice, but it's also a nice evening. Yes. Tonight we've got a special class, and usually at the beginning of the senior college classes, somebody gives an introduction, and I did, or I should say, someone did. In a minute. So it's an artificial intelligence class. What do? I asked artificial intelligence. Come up with an introduction of the instructor of this class. This is putting it in action, and you'll see this is a preview, but the process is exactly this. In AI, you present it with a theory or a question, and you give the parameters for the question, and then you hit a button, go, and what it does is it does its searches through whatever materials you've specified. In this case, Andrew sent me a 4-page resume, and I wasn't going to put that together, but yeah, I did. It looked at Andrew's 4-page resume, which is down to here, and it came up with. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, Andrew Burden. Andrew brings a wealth of experience and expertise to the discussion on artificial intelligence. Hailing from Fort Kent, Andrew has been at the forefront of technological innovations for over 3 decades. As a technology innovator at the Fort Kent Public Library, he spearheaded initiatives to modernize library resources, integrating emerging AI technology into library planning, management, and marketing strategies. His efforts resulted in a seamless transition from physical to digital catalog systems and upgraded wireless connectivity, enhancing access to information for library patrons. Andrew's dedication to leveraging technology for community benefit extends beyond the library. During COVID-19, he adopted traditional face-to-face activities to online platforms, ensuring continued engagement and learning opportunities for seniors in northern Maine through online classes. With a background in journalism and publishing, Andrew's contribution to the media landscape has been significant. As the founder and editor of Fiddlehead Focus, a pioneering web-based news publication, he demonstrated a keen understanding of digital platforms and open source applications. His work not only earned numerous accolades, but also contributed to the enrichment of rural communities in Maine. Andrew's commitment to education is equally commendable. From teaching secondary mathematics in diverse settings to developing online instructional resources, he has continuously sought to empower learners of all ages with knowledge and skills. Today, Andrew continues to inspire through his passion for technology, education, and community development. Please join me in welcoming Andrew Burden as he shares insights on the practical applications of artificial intelligence in our daily lives. This is the application.
All right. So, because we thought that it would be fun to do that introduction like this, and it worked ish. Yes.
When you do something like that, like normally if you copy something, you have to give credit for credit.
Right.
Now Don did say that it was AI generated.
Yep.
Does he have to do that?
So no, of course not. I mean, there's no law that says that you have.
Claim it as his own.
No, so The only court case that's really gone through the courts has been the copyright that an AI-generated image possesses, in which you had an artist who created an AI image and wanted to copyright it itself in his own name. And it was challenged in court, and the judge said that because no one created it, there is no copyright. That being said, there are now coming forward ways to make citations for papers that use AI content and other multimedia formats so that you can cite them in a way that makes sense. But that's not actually all I'm going to be talking about tonight. What I want to do is I want to show you ways that I have used AI in sort of some more pragmatic day-to-day applications, so that we can see it in action. I want it because I've been using it to approach problems, develop plans, to brainstorm. I've had it help me in trying to plan short stories that I've written. I've had it help me to plan out articles that I've written. I've had it write articles that I've edited, and we'll be talking about how that ethical needle can be threaded, because there are things you have to consider when you're working with AI. Through this, I'm hoping that you're going to see how you can use this tool ethically to serve your community and yourself, then in a better way than it would happen if you did not have AI available. And also, we need to point out some of the dangers that are associated with it. And the thing is that I don't really consider myself an expert on this. I have used it. I have experience in some of the early applications in the 90s of machine learning and genetic algorithms that I did in some applications that we built in language recognition at a small company that I worked for in Texas. And so I've worked with some of this stuff, and I understand it a little. But that's just the way that is. So in a moment, we're going to continue with this interaction with AI, and I want you to see how it works. And so with that being said, I'm going to use two AIs. One is called Night Cafe, which is an image generator, and the other one is ChatGPT, which is a large language model that generates text. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a prompt that I've written ahead of time, and I am going to use that prompt on ChatGPT. And in this prompt, you can see I'm just telling what's going on. So I'm teaching a short class on pragmatic uses for AI to a group of older adults in Fort Kent. I am using ChatGPT as part of the demonstration. This lesson is happening right now. You are appearing on a screen and through audio to a group of older adults. Please introduce yourself. And
hello everyone in Fort Kent. I'm Woodstock, a digital assistant powered by OpenAI's language model, ChatGPT. It's a pleasure to join you today through this screen and audio connection. I'm here to assist with all sorts of tasks, from answering questions to helping draft documents, or even discussing various topics from science to literature. My goal is to make information and assistance more accessible and to enhance your experiences with technology, whether it's through learning new skills or just having an interesting conversation. As we go along, feel free to ask me any questions, and I'll do my best to provide useful and interesting answers. Let's have a great time exploring what AI can do for us.
so what we have here, a couple of things going on. It says I'm Woodstock. That's a name I gave it. I named it after the bird that would assist Snoopy from the old Peanuts, because that bird would help him with his writing, and that bird didn't, always spoke in things that you really didn't know what he was talking about. Just appealed to me that way. It may, in some parts of this, refer to me as El Pajarón, which is just the name I told it to refer to me. It was a nickname that I picked up when I was a teacher in Laredo, Texas, that my students would call me. It just means the bird. But you can tell it's uses a voice. You can change the voice. You can not use the voice. That sort of thing. Now, what I want to do now is show you a little bit of its ability to respond to stuff that needs research. So, in this one, I have tell us a little bit about Fort Kent and the strengths and challenges of this community. Now, it'll go on sometimes a little too long, but
Kent, Maine is a charming and vibrant community located at the northernmost point of the state, right along the St. John River, which forms the border with Canada. It's known for its rich history, particularly its roots in the logging industry and its strong Acadian culture, which reflects the heritage of many of its residents. One of the major strengths of Fort Kent is its close-knit community. The people here are known for their resilience and community spirit, often coming together to support one another and celebrate their heritage, particularly during events like the Toy Festival and the Can-Am Crown International Sled Dog Race. The town also serves as a gateway to outdoor activities, including...
So I'm going to interrupt it here, if that's okay, unless you want to continue watching that. So the thing that you see here is that it has gone out on the website, probably a lot of Wikipedia being used here, access to certain government websites that have information about the region, and it also has the ability to look at things visually. So it may have a map that it's making comparisons with and such. But if you look at it, the information is correct. I'm not seeing a whole lot of what they call hallucinations, which is when an AI provides you with incorrect information, as if it's telling you the truth. And it's not that it's lying to you; it's that it's providing you with information that it thinks is so. And it can get odd sometimes. However, it responds to the prompts that you give it, and
Andrew, is this happening like?
Oh yeah, right now it is. Yeah,
it was that fast.
It was that fast. Yeah, this is not pre-done. The only thing that I wrote were the prompts because I didn't want to waste time typing. But you can use voice recognition as well in this. So if I wanted to, we'll see if that works. Hang on. Let's do. Will that work? Yeah. Okay. Provide a 200-word overview of AI, including definitions and a brief history tailored for an audience with mixed familiarity with the topic. The accompanying text should illustrate the history of AI from its beginnings to the present, highlight key AI facets like machine learning, genetic algorithms, and natural language processing. Yeah, it's just a site. Yeah, chat. Yeah.
Andrew, what resources does it use to find the information? And is that something you can control over?
A little. You can tell it to look at specific areas. It has access to a huge amount of data, essentially a snapshot of the World Wide Web from about 2 years ago. There's some limitations on it getting a hold of current information. I suspect you have to pay I pay $20 a month for this. I imagine you have to pay much higher price to get access to current information. Yeah. So
Artificial intelligence, AI, refers to the capability of a machine to imitate intelligent human behavior. It encompasses a range of technologies that enable machines to sense, comprehend, act, and learn. AI has evolved dramatically since its inception in the mid-20th century, when researchers began to explore how computers could solve problems and simulate human intelligence. The history of AI can be divided into several key periods. The early years in the 1950s and 1960s saw foundational work in programming computers to carry out tasks.
So
like
shall I
problem solving.
make this stop, or do you want to continue on listening to that? Because I'd mainly just,
The focus shifted towards machine learning,
so
where computers learn.
again, if you want to learn the history of AI, it essentially began in back long time ago when people were trying to make homunculi and trying to make golems and stuff back in the old world where people were trying to make artificial people and humans and such through magic and all. That's where its origins are. It was, and then you had machines in the 1800s that would play chess and they would do stuff, and they weren't really, processing and doing any information processing, but they seemed interesting. In the 1950s is when they had a calling at Dartmouth College for a conference where they brought some of the best thinkers and mathematicians together, and they coined the term AI. And they felt back in the 1950s, as these computers were being developed that came out of World War II, the early computers, ENIAC and RAMAC and things like that, that we were less than 10 years away from having a machine that was going to be as smart as a human being. That's just simply not the case. It took years and years, and in the 80s and the 90s is when some real serious development was occurring with machine language and expert systems. Machine language is when you try to make up rules about specific topics so that you can start having a computer program that is very good at a specific type of task. And they'll bring in, language experts and such and financial experts to try to have it come up with ways of analyzing, say, the stock market or something. And you would have professional investors trying to teach it. And this brought it further, but didn't do a whole lot until about 5 or 8 years ago, when it really started to take off, and they started applying the machine learning, the genetic algorithms that you use to help it to program itself and improve as it exists longer and longer. So these AIs they're self-improving. They are evolving, and voice recognition. That was my interaction with it, was in voice recognition, because I did a whole lot of stuff in voice recognition in the 90s when we were making applications for banking systems so that people could talk to their bank on the phone, and a computer would understand what they were saying, because we developed one of the products that did that. And now we have what it's doing today, which seems to be advancing very, very quickly, and it's both exciting and frightening to see where it's going. So I want to do that because we need to talk about some of the ethical issues that come up with AI. This is Night Cafe. This is a site that takes a variety of AI generative art machines, and you can use it to create graphic elements that you can use. Like, this was one that I created when I was trying to come up with a poster for our $5 book sale, bag of book sale. And I would go through and I would, like for this, the prompt that I gave it was simply colorful books fill a paper grocery bag. And I told it that, and it produced this. These pieces right here were images that I developed for the, and we'd never used them because I wasn't happy with them, for the Denim and Diamonds event that they had for the foundation dinner. And other images are ones that I used in trying to come up with some questions for the Facebook to promote the library. This was our Valentine's book sale. These images of a cat around trains were ones that I prompted it with because I was having a presentation by a toy train aficionado, somebody who just enjoyed talking about trains. And we'll see how fast this happens in a moment. These right here are book covers that I was developing, trying to get an idea of an alien creature that I was trying to use in a book that I'm writing. And this is some early stuff. This is a photograph of our famous photographer here around here, Mr. Sear, and I took a photograph that he produced, submitted it to Night Cafe, and said, take this photograph and recreate it as if Van Gogh had made it, and specifically mentioned starry nights. And the greyhounds, I come from a background of greyhounds, and I was just messing with it. So this leads us to ethical considerations. Are we taking away jobs from artists if we use this equipment, and should we? And my response is that when I make a poster for the library, I'm not putting an artist out of work because no artist is good. I couldn't afford an artist to do this. I wouldn't do it. Or I would come up with something much more basic than I would come up with, that I would put together. The problem that you have with AI is that you'll take something that it produces, you'll claim it's your own, that's unethical, or you won't make it your own. And so I think the way I have threaded this needle of trying to make sure that the way I'm using it is going to be ethical is that when I use AI heavily to help me create an article, I don't put my name to it. I edit the heck out of it because it's sometimes it's too wordy and it just goes on, or it's not that well written, and you edit the crap out of it. And it's just like when I was an editor for the newspaper, we would get press releases from all over the place and content that people would write that they wanted to have published in the newspaper. And it's like what AI produces in that if you just take it and put it in the newspaper, it's not going to be that good. You need to have some expertise to evaluate what it produces, make changes to it so that it is coherent, so that it is relevant, so that it has meaning to the people who read it, and not just the person who may have submitted it. I've received obituaries that were written on napkins, and you take that and you got to put it and you got to transform it into an obituary. I've taken some of the worst content and created usable content. The other thing, though, is to recognize that it's a tool, and it's like what I think might be one of the earliest tools that human beings had, which wasn't the knife, it wasn't the club. I think it was the map. I think that being able to look in the dirt and draw where you want to go hunting is something that came first, and then all the other stuff followed on. But I think the map was one of the first tools that we developed as these intelligent beings. And I think that the quality of that map is just like it is today. Sometimes you have a good map, sometimes you don't have a good map. But it's better than not having a map. And I think that AI is a little bit like that, because you can use it extensively. And so what we're going to look at next is a real practical application of it. All right. In this, a couple of months ago, I was feeling weak. I was just dragging everywhere I went. It was not a good time for me. And I went to my doctor and I complained about it, and she did some tests on me. And I wondered about those tests, and I went to Fish River Rural Health, and I had their notification of these tests. And I just copied and pasted them into ChatGPT and told it, you are a diagnostician. Now, part of when you're making prompts with AI is limiting the amount of information that it's going to be accessing. By telling it that it's a diagnostician, it's going to be using literature and references that are from that realm of knowledge. If I told it you're an astrologer, and gave it the following information, the response would have been very different. And so in this case, they did a bunch of testing on my iron, and and literally I just copied and pasted it in there. And it goes through and it gives you an analysis of what you're seeing there. It gives an explanation of what the test is trying to do. And it gives you a result. It comes, despite normal total iron and TI suggests iron deficiency, which was what the doctor diagnosed me with. This could be due to inadequate iron intake, increased iron needs, or chronic blood loss. And it gives you a warning. It's important to consider. But the thing that you can do at that point is you can ask it, anything you want about the results, and it will respond to your questions endlessly. And it won't annoy the doctor that you're taking up the doctor's time and that you're asking stupid questions because you don't know what this stuff means yet. And so it's helpful in that way that you can look at those results and you can say, oh, maybe might be something that I'm dealing with or something I need to ask my doctor about. And so that's one use that I've found quite helpful. Another one is this. In this one, how would you respond if someone, I'm talking to the AI, but if you wrote, someone has called me and is telling me that my computer is sending out illegal emails. They are on the phone right now. What should I do? These are important considerations that you can use this. If something is happening around you, you can describe it to this AI and it will give you insight, or at least an interpretation. It may be wrong, but you have a better map in dealing with this unknown call that you have than you did without it. All right? And again, you can continue talking to it, and it gives you suggestions on how to deal with a scammer on the line there. Now I want to look at something where it was a little less useful. All right, and I'm going to do this with one that I did before, and come on, open this link. There we go. All right, so what I did is I had written a short story, and I wanted to see what AI would do with it. It was the short story is completely mine. I wrote it from scratch, and I took it. And the prompt here is I wanted it to create an image that I could use to accompany the short story if I were to publish it on my website, which is ontheedgeofamerica.com, and you're all welcome to go check it out. And so the name of the story is called The Pegasus Dilemma, and it's create an image appropriate image, which is my own typo, for a book cover based on the following story. And then I put the story into the AI, and it goes on and 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 on because it's too long. Yeah, okay. And then I had it, and then it gave me two images. And the story, it takes place in a Maine town. It involves Pegasus, and we have a female character that is dealing with it. And I wasn't happy with this, but it's what it came up with. And and that's fine. And then I asked it about the plot of the story. Are there errors in the plot? And ChatGPT, gave me an analysis of it. It was rich and imaginative. It's, oh yeah, whatever, whatever. But then it broke it down to your world building consistency, character development, the motivation of characters, which were correct. It was able to determine what the motivation of my characters were based on the text that I gave it. And it was the pacing and flow, thematic clarity, blah, blah, blah. And it gave me some suggestions. And then I asked it, well, would it be appropriate to flesh it out into a novel, or does it stand as a short story? And it goes on and it says, here's the pros and cons of doing each one of those. Gives me a good analysis of it. As a novel, here's, you get these pros and these cons, length and pace. And then I asked it a couple of more questions. I don't know what I was looking for. And then I asked it, does the background of how Conover, which is the name of this town, began hosting a festival cause the story to drag? And it gives me an analysis of it that was, okay, I was okay with it. But, and I'm having this interaction in real time as I'm talking to it, quickly reading its responses and thinking about it and coming back to it. And, and then, and the thing that I was afraid of was that this story dragged, and I asked it, does the backstory does it drag or not, and asked it if it agreed with me, and then it gave me, your insight and confidence in the current, blah 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 blah, and it responds, with what may be too flattering of a response, because it's trying to respond to my what it thinks are the needs that are expressed in my prompting. And so finally, and then I'm also curious about pinning it down, because it gives you this, wishy-washy responses. So finally I said, I'm looking for your opinion. To you, does the backstory feel like it drags, yes or no? And then it's, it tells me that no, it doesn't drag. I personally think that it does. And so, and sometimes the interaction that you have with an AI doesn't produce very useful results. And again, if you want to ask AI how to take over the world, okay, that's not a useful question. I mean, it'll give you a response, and you can pester it until it gives you something that sounds creepy and bizarre and such. But that's like using a gun to build a house. It's not, or using a hammer as the only tool that you have to build a car or something. It's not a useful way to approach the tool. Yes, sir.
You say that, but is it possible that, people in general, I think, are hard on themselves? Usually, like, I know I am, and a lot of people are like that, they're hard on themselves.
Yes.
So, was it the computer more spot on, not being so hard on them?
It's possible, definitely. And and I think that's part of the path that we have to.
Your own worst critique.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yet at the same time, we have to take the tools and the information that's available to us, combine it with our own goals, needs, and opinions, and try to come up with a balanced way forward to achieve our goals. And in this one, I wanted a good story. And I've gone back, I've rewritten it, and such, and just that interaction with ChatGPT, I'm sure affected how my final product, because I've rewritten it a couple of times. I saw another question back here.
Yeah, does your comments or questions lead the response?
Oh yes. So, and they call and what they call the stuff that you put here, the message ChatGPT, they call those prompts. And a new career that seems to be developing out of AI is prompt engineering. And so people who can write a good prompt to get useful information out of AI is more important than just being able to type in whatever you want. Because you could have it give you advice, I don't know, on how to find a date. It could give you advice on how to start a religion, or something. But and it'll try to answer anything that you ask it. But is it useful? And again, you can make it do crazy stuff if you pester it enough. But again, is that going to be useful? There's going to be people out there that are going to make art. They're going to make visual arts, and there's music is being made now that is really good. That's going to challenge the pop artists of today, because it will put that kind of quality production in the hands of regular folks. And you look at the art that it produces, that's high quality art. And you have an enormous amount of control over it. You look at, let's go to explore a little bit. Okay, these are ones that are being generated by various AIs out there, and they're being generated very, very quickly. So, for example, I could go to ChatGPT, and we have one of the things we have coming up is a lumberjack day. So lumberjack. So I wanted to make an image of a lumberjack in a harness up in a tree reading a book. Now, images take a little bit longer, but you see that. Can you imagine trying to do a painting and stuff in the amount of time that it has? So, and the reason I chose that is we got Lumberjack Days coming up, and we're wanting to. Yeah.
Wow, it's an intelligent.
He does. I don't know why he has a fork, but he has a fork. Yeah. Now, there was a time when you could identify AI-generated art because the AI was having difficulty with hands, making digits and stuff, and there would be hands that were and limbs poking out all over the place, and it was really bad. But it has improved enormously since this first started making AI-generated art. And I could use this as a graphic for our book sale that we're having at the library on the weekend of the Lumberjack Festival. And again, I'm not putting an artist out of work because it wouldn't have been done.
Can you fine-tune it and take the fork out?
Let's try it.
Decided that he was probably reading during his lunch.
Yeah. Using the same image, remake it so the lumberjack does not have a fork in his hand. Let's see what happens. Yeah. So while it's doing this, does anyone have a question that they would like to ask this AI? Oh, no, just ask your question.
Does it help with music compositions as you're trying to compose?
Yes, I feel certain that my expertise is not in music composition, but you can ask it to write song lyrics. You can ask it to.
Still has no God.
Does he? He still has a fork.
Yeah. He does still have.
Yeah, and so, and this is what limitations that you have, especially with AI art, is that it does not identify artifacts within an image. That was one of the reasons I was struggling with the. Let's go back to my collection. Yeah. No. My creations. Here we go. So when I was working on this piece right here, I was trying to get rid of whatever that was. And I tried any number of ways to try to have it, focus in on that and remove it, because it's an unnecessary thing. It doesn't mean anything. I don't know what it's there for.
You do that by rewriting your prompt?
I tried that by rewriting my prompt, and I finally gave up because it wasn't one of the biggest issues that you have in graphic arts and AI generated art is the same thing that we had in the old map making industry, because I used to also work with geographic information systems, and those are what they call edge detection, and computers have a difficulty recognizing that there's an edge here or that there's an edge there, and that this is not part of that. And the same thing is true with roads and stuff on maps. You're trying to find the edge of a map and trying to identify the edge of a mountain and such. It's a common problem, edge detection. And you can see, like with this cat, look at all these weird limbs and stuff that are poking all over the place. And you know, the one that I finally used was this one, because it was the least weird looking one. But I only used it, I cropped it so that I used this part. Well, I took the image and I downloaded it, and then I put it in some editing software and cropped it. And
Andrew?
yes,
Are these Night Cafe and Chat GPT, are they available for just the ordinary person?
yes.
They're not, okay, they're not exclusive to like colleges?
No, anyone can
Business.
use them. The Night Cafe one, I actually have a free account. This is a free account that I'm using there. And it's, you know, and you struggle with art. With the Chat GPT, I do pay for that because I get access to a higher quality AI. And I work in text a lot, and that's where I'm most comfortable. So, other questions?
I just wonder how the source of the information is different from Siri's source of information. I see that this is much more broad and can create a lot more things, but and I don't know if you know the answer to that, maybe.
Well, let's ask it. Let's ask it. Okay. For the question on the history of AI, where did you get the information?
And how does AI differ from Siri? Maybe we should ask it that.
Oh, from Siri. So, well, one, Siri I'm not familiar with Siri as well as I am. I use the Echo system that you use from Amazon, the Amazon Echo, and I'm seeing AI being used in its responses, and sometimes they're kind of strange, but and again, those are primarily there to try to get you to interact with them so that you buy stuff. And
About Alexa? Is that?
yes, yeah, and so, you know, there's that aspect with Siri. It's the Microsoft agent that's supposed to help folks, right?
It's on the Apple phone.
It's on the it's the Apple one, yeah. And so again, Apple is actually doing a little bit of catch up with AI, and Siri is primarily an expert system, and it's not doing a whole lot of large language modeling as far as I've heard. But it's gonna. It will be more useful as time goes on, and you'll be able to interact with it pretty much like ChatGPT. Is what I would suspect is coming, and they're going to have different, you know, like Siri has little boxes that you can put in your house, I would suppose.
I don't know about that, but.
Well, like the Alexa does, and again, they're going to have new ones coming out that are going to be using AI a lot more extensively. And because the thing that I could see happening is eventually because it does have the ability to recognize images now. I could see an AI in a home for someone who is struggling with, say, cognitive decline, and it would just be there watching. And if somebody gets a phone call from somebody who's trying to scam them, it might, if you gave it the ability to act as an agent, it could interrupt the conversation to talk to the person that's talking, saying, "Hey, I think this might be a scam. That you need to look at this." Or somebody calls up and they're saying that they're their nephew and they're in trouble and that type of thing, where you could have an agent that could say, "Hey, this seems like an emergency, but we need to stop step back and ask some questions.
Big Brother's watching.
Oh, sure.
That's what it is.
Yeah, oh, and that's the thing, is that, it could be the watching is all benevolent and nice and all, and would be appropriate for someone who is struggling with disability, perhaps. It would not be appropriate for someone who is, I don't know, trying to come up with a business that would challenge another business that's more powerful than them. And it's possible that you could have AI agents that would listen in on that and would alert people, I would suppose. I mean, there's levels of agency and motivation that may not match you as the person who thinks you're using AI. That is true for a lot of things. The thing that you have with AI is recognizing that the content that it brings to you is not the content that you should use. It's more of a structure that you can then go back and edit, and that you can change so that it fits with your needs. I've used AI to help me design the center shared workspace downstairs. I asked it, what type of services should we include in that? What type of services what type of furniture should we have there? That type of thing. I asked it, because I didn't know and I wasn't sure how to do it, to come up with policy for how to manage that facility. And it came up with stuff that I was able to then edit and apply to.
Just feed you ideas that you can use to.
That's right. I've worked with folks who are trying to find businesses in town, or trying to save businesses in town that they may be working with, and used it to have them generate ideas and brainstorm so that they might have a direction to go. And again, if you just follow it blindly, it's not going to work. That's not how you use a tool. You don't just hammer and hope that it builds a house.
Just a bunch of suggestions that you kind of need to sort through.
That's right. That's right. And again, prompting is the important part. You want to, usually I'll have it emulate a person with a master's degree in information science and expertise in civic in civic organizations and things like that. And I'll say, these are the limitations that I'll put on its responses, so it's not finding stuff from just anywhere, and it provides you with useful stuff. These are all the different topics that I've been talking to it about. Let's see, summer reading program theme. We're coming up with the summer reading program, and I asked it to come up with, there we go. I wanted to include adults in our summer reading program. And I asked it to come up with 5 themes that would allow me to do this. And ChatGPT, or Woodstock in this case, came up with a variety of suggestions, like, have Around the World in Books, Time Travelers, Mysteries and Wonders, Heroes and Heroines, Tales of Friendship and Family. And which was not quite what I was looking for. I was actually looking for a way to come up with a graphical poster to help us track people reading books in the summer reading program. And so I tell it, that was helpful, but I'm more interested in the theme for the way we track the reading program. We want the theme to motivate reading, have participants track the books they've read, and just described it as best I could. And they even gave it an example. Last year, we had readers put a numbered sticker on a poster for each book they read. As the program proceeded, more stickers would go on the poster. At the end of the program, hidden prizes were revealed on the poster. So I described to it what we had done before, and what are 5 other methods for tracking the books a person has read for a summer reading program. And then it came up with Garden of Stories, Literary Map Adventure, Book Bingo, Castle of Tales, Ocean of Discovery. And so then I said, well, we like the Garden of Stories. How can we use this idea to make a program that appeals to older adults? And the Garden of Stories theme can be tailored to appeal by making personalized garden plots, gardening workshops, and a variety of things. And from that, we came up with, let me find Google, come on, google.com, we came up with, where is it? Slides. Come on. Oh, wait, I'm in the wrong, it's in the library Google account. But anyway, we came up with a brochure that we use some of those elements. And all the visual elements actually came from a poster that Cheryl Pelletier had created years ago. But I was able to use it and combine it with some of the stuff that I'd gotten from ChatGPT to come up with a way to track how kids are what they're reading and how much they've read, and so that we can give out prizes at the end of the program. It's useful. And so, there was a conclusion here. Hang on, because I wanted to see if we wanted to do anything else here. Summarize the key points discussed and the benefits of integrating AI in appropriate tasks. End with a forward-looking statement about the potential future enhancements AI could bring to library services. Yeah, I think that what I'd like to do is if there's any other questions that you would like to ask this AI, and recognize that it will try to answer them. If you want, anybody? Okay, so.
No, I don't have a question.
Yes.
So, way back in the day when I was teaching, and I need to apologize to anybody who had a student that I taught, and they asked me to write a letter of recommendation. Because every November, you would get 20 to 30, could you please write me a letter of recommendation? And I loved writing letters of recommendation, the first two.
Mm-hmm.
When I got down to the 30th one, it was really tough. And I thought, that's what I would use.
Yeah. So here's what you could do with that is you could take that data from your book, and you maybe not even use the name of the student, but say, these are the grades this student made, and here's the assignments that we did, and put those in as a prompt with ChatGPT and tell it to come up with a letter of recommendation.
And then make the second one as good as the first, but unique. They all have to be unique.
That's right, and it would do that. It would tailor it to the data that you provide, and then you might need to go through because the biggest mistake that folks will make is thinking that this is some sort of oracle, or that and while it may turn into something like that, because this right now, when we interact with AI, I'm not sensing something looking back at me. All right, I don't think it's quite there yet. I think it's close, but it's not there yet. And so you don't take anything that it produces and just copy and paste it. That will, because it has errors that show up, and some of them can be ones that will come back and bite you, and just want to be careful with it, because it's like a very, very powerful tool. It can do amazing things. It can also do amazing amounts of harm if it's not used methodically and with purpose.
Does it always work that fast?
Yes, sometimes it'll pause a little bit as it's thinking, but not for more than 5 or so seconds. And and you can, you can ask it again if you ask it things like, what is the best car to buy in 2024?
It's too vague.
Yes. And it knows this. But having this, it gives you more to consider. It gives you some guidance in what you should use as the factors for making that decision, and where things are going and such. But also, the mentioning of various makes and models, I bet you somebody paid for that.
Oh, yeah.
All right? So, it is an oracle, it is not an oracle, but what it does do is provide you with information that can help guide you forward. But you need to keep in mind that the makers of this they have their own agenda as well. And their agenda at this point is that they want to make money off of it.
So you can't drive it on autopilot. You gotta stay awake at the wheel.
You do. That's a very good way of putting it, too. And that is my presentation on AI. Yes.
I have a question. I have a Windows 10 machine, laptop, and I want to try it tonight. Where do I start?
So what you would do is you would go to chatgpt.com.
Okay, ChatGPT.
And-
$20.
Well, they have a free version.
Do, okay.
Yeah, and you can sign up to, so I use what they call the ChatGPT 4. The free one is 3.5. And it's useful. I mean, I did a lot of this stuff using the 3.5 version. The next version is going to be coming out soon, and there's a lot of talk that it's pretty amazing as well. And again, what I want to see is when they give the AI the ability to create agents, things that can do things for you. For example, if I'd like to be able to give it my bank records and tell it to fill out my tax forms. All right, I would like for it to be able to alert me when there's an event coming up for my calendar, or that I've got a conflict in my calendar, and that I can then tell it, we'll move this event to this day, and inform all the people that were invited to it.
Personal secretary.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've always wanted a personal secretary. I've never had a personal secretary. So anyway, that answer your question there, Don?
It does. You just go to the website.
You just go to chatgpt.com and you should be able to sign up for it. And it costs like $20 a month for the higher level chat, the higher level version of it. And it has the ability, you can tailor the AI. So I use Woodstock as a tailored version of ChatGPT, and I have it as an expert and advisor for writing. So if I'm looking for something to write about, I'll have it give me a prompt. Or if I want to discuss a plot, I've taken things where I've taken a large amount of text. And I've said, treat it like a stage, and tell me blocking for what all the characters are doing during that scene. Where are they physically in the environment described and the text?
You are getting value out of it because you're willing to pay $20 a month.
Oh yes, oh yes.
I mean, it's worth it for you.
Yeah, definitely. I was using this, and I think that it had its influence in helping us to get the grant that we received for the library to create this remote shared workspace downstairs, because I wasn't sure what it was all about. And I used it to help me create my descriptions and such. And then I would edit the bejesus out of it, because again, it's you got to make it really your own. But just like I remember years ago back in the 90s. I went to a concert where the guy was using an Apple computer, and he would play guitar, and he would use the Apple computer's ability to emulate musical instruments to create an entire orchestra to accompany him as he played his music. And his response when people would criticize him for using this synthetic music was that he had composed the music as best that he could, and if they want to hire an orchestra for him to do this work, they're welcome to. But he's just a busker. What's he going to do? He's not putting anybody out of work. Now, saying that, it is going to put people out of work, because there's going to be companies that are going to use ChatGPT or variations of it to manage small businesses. There's going to be ones that interpret X-rays, and they'll be better at it than X-ray technicians. This is coming. But just like anything else, new jobs are going to originate from it, and the value of human-made work is going to have its adjustments that it does, but at the same time, we're gonna see art come out of this that we've never seen before, and it's still just at the beginning. And so I'm curious to see where it's gonna go, and hopefully we won't hurt ourselves too badly with it.
But if it stops some of these businesses from going out of business, it may save some jobs.
That's right. That's right. But but the telemarketing industry, it's going to be devastated by AI, because you're not going to have to hire telemarketers. You're going to have, these things that can talk to you. And I've had conversations on the phone, and you may not even realize you'll talk to something on the phone that you realize is not a recorded voice, but it's certainly not a human. And they're responding to your questions and such. That's a large language model that they're using to talk to you and sell you stuff. And they're only getting better. Yeah, that's right. Anyway, that's what we've got.
Is there, we're talking about, we think of this as kind of a U.S. product. I'm assuming there's competition around the world.
So yeah, large language models, which ChatGPT is, and these AI art generators are being used all across the planet. And the difference between how it's being used in the United States and where it's being used in other places in the world is the willingness to embrace AI. Outside of the United States, they're going nuts for it. In Japan and China and Australia, they think that it's just amazing what it can do. Here in the United States, we're really kind of paranoid about it. And maybe rightfully so, but also, it might limit us in our ability to use this very, very powerful tool to benefit the nation, to benefit things within our own borders.
Does it do something like translation? I mean, we have some Google tools out there, translate a whole bunch of things. We'll take a section and translate it into French.
Let's go back. Let's try it. I don't know. All right. Translate your last response into French.
Accents and all.
Now I can read the menus.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Reading menus.
Menus,
That's right.
I wonder if it translate into like Hebrew, using a different alphabet.
Oh, I don't know. Now translate the passage into Hebrew.
And it even doesn't, it even goes back in the correct way. Oh my Lord. Oh, that's terrifying.
Yes.
I'd like to ask a quick question. I apologize for being late.
That's okay. That's okay.
But talking about AI, if I can make reference to what you said about art and music a while ago, AI doesn't have any feelings.
Right.
And to be creative, you have to have feelings, or just an artist or musician. So I'm wondering at that point, what's your take on that? What do you think?
So, as I mentioned before, I don't think that there's something in the box that's staring back at it at us yet. I do think that there's that potential. And we'll see, and it may already be out there. It's just not announced yet. The thing that you have with art, and I think of it as like the photographs that people would bring to me when I was editing the newspaper. I get photographs all the time. Most of the pictures were just crap. Most of the AI art that it generates is not useful. But an editor can go through and crop it and find the useful pieces and then apply it to a real application in the real world. And so again, if you have it generate art, like I did, I had it generate that guy with the sitting up in the, were you here for that, where we made the lumberjack in the tree? Yeah. And that's going to get better, where he won't be having a fork for whatever reason he had a fork. I don't know what that was about. But it's not that the bear dances poorly or that the bear dances well. It's that the bear dances. And the bear's only going to get better at it. And so does that answer your question? Okay.
You know, but to follow up on Ed's question, could you build in a sense of feeling to put, my cat got run over by a car. Oh, I feel terrible. He was a close friend. You know,
Yeah.
good and
My cat, dear friend,
empathetic, exactly. Make-
has died.
There it goes.
And that's right. Well, and you can have long conversations with this AI, and it's friendly. The emotions that you might be, like you're sensing empathy coming from it and concern and such. I really don't think that's there. It's more simulated. And again, a large language model is a little bit, and do we have time to continue on? I don't want to. Okay. So a large language model is a little bit like a parlor trick that, and I was explaining this to Irene earlier, where back in the early 1900s, there was a parlor game that people would play where they would hand out strips of paper to everybody in the parlor, and the first person, each person would then write the first 3 words of a sentence. And they wouldn't end it. It would just be like, the sun rose. And then they would hand that strip of paper to the next person and receive a strip of paper with 3 words on it from a person to their right. And they would add 2 words to those 3 words as if continuing the sentence. And then they would fold 2 of the words under and pass it on to the next person. They would receive one which would have the last word that the person before had written, the 2 words of the person right before them had written, and then they would add 2 more words. And when you go through this process, it will create a sentence. And the sentence very often will make sense. It'll have a subject, it'll have a verb, it'll have, parentheticals, anything you want in it, and it'll come to an end. And sometimes they're really, really silly, and sometimes they're really profound. Large language models, which ChatGPT is, work a little like that, or that gives you a little bit of a model of how it might be working internally. Because they're taking not just 3 words, they're taking entire sentences and paragraphs and saying, well, how would we continue this discussion? And it's generating that text as if to continue it. Now, whether or not it understands it is like asking whether or not whatever is causing that sentence to be created in that parlor game understands what that sentence means. It doesn't matter eventually. What matters is whether or not the content is useful. All right. Okay. Let's stop there then. All right.